is not an animal. It's a traumatized wild boar, habituated to live and is now mass-produced because that's how deception runs rampant once you adopt into its lie, fabricated. Yeah. The pig looks at you and you're properly weaponized your compassion to make believe it is an animal by giving it just a name. But in actuality, you're looking at a deceased animal. Yeah. You can call it a pig, but it still squeals.
All right, so I don't know where you're at with this, but Seact, what would you say a shooting star is? If somebody asked you, like you were saying he has his, interpretation of it, but what would yours be? Or do you have one?
I have yet to hear his interpretation because he only gave me the one he adopted from his academia. So he didn't give me his interpretation yet. I have still to hear it. He started to talk about this flashy object and then gave it the material proponents of it being a lit, entering low Earth orbit and whatever. I can find the same explanation by going on Wikipedia, dude. You're impossible. Just can we get your actual lived experience for once and not just a recital off of Wikipedia?
And it sounds like he wants to dismiss the cumulative database of civilization. It's cumulative.
Why are you coming in with such a weird gaslight? Just be quiet for a second.
Okay.
No one asked you for this
Left lane.
explanation that doesn't have any ground in reality.
Yeah, left lane. Was I out of line?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so it sounds like he's dismissing.
Because he wants to scapegoat the conversation.
Hold on, dude. I don't want to mute people, but you're just interrupting him. So just at least let him finish. Just go ahead, Shoebill.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the knowledge base by which human society evolves is cumulative. It's not left to every single individual to come up with a unique interpretation based on their own, isolated description. We come together and we compare the events, we compare the observations, and a certain fraction of the society dive into it more deeply and severely. And yeah, we all see these things. We can identify similarities between observations by other people. So yeah, it comes together. It goes, that was one of those things which have been described for millennia.
Okay, great. Shoebill, yeah, I hear you're super stressed. That's at least what I'm hearing. But you see, I don't think anyone in this room is against actually coming together as a group and doing sound scientific investigation. But in order to do said thing, you actually have to understand how you're studying said phenomena to begin with. You can't just go, as we have got a demonstration of here now, of which you seem to defend, which is really weird. You can't just go into assuming a bias and then imagine that the bias does not exist. And then when you're given the position to explain your own senses, you don't even, I've yet to hear them from left lane, you see. So what is he doing now? He's adopting what he's conditioned to respond and refraining from his actual experiential respond, which could just be simply his experience. Are you following what I'm saying? Or is this too difficult? So getting back to the case example with left lane on the ground just a minute ago, seeing something in the sky. Is he yet again, when I'm going to ask him the question, could you attempt to explain to me what you see? Is he now yet again going to use a textbook example when I asked him specifically of his very own sight? Or what is so difficult to get? Is it so hard for you to not include your bias?
Is it so hard for you to not understand?
No, it's
that
a question.
I saw something and I described it, and that's what I saw.
Okay, but do you not see how your description was just a very well trained
You've been asked twice.
Educational
what would be your opinion of seeing a falling star? What would be your description of it?
Well, your opinion is duly noted as an adoption, so you gaslit yourself by not having an opinion and adopting.
You're just not going to answer it.
No, I am. I'm just, first and foremost, you don't have an opinion because you gaslit yourself and you adopted the traditional notion. Okay, great.
Straight up gaslit right there.
Yes, that's not me gaslighting. It's you gaslighting yourself away from your own opinion. Do you not see
as you speak, I'm gaslighting myself. I got you.
Stop becoming such a victim and listen to what I'm actually saying.
Yeah, stop telling me I'm gaslighting myself while you're gaslighting me.
Stop creating such a fantasy of being a victim and listen to what I'm actually saying.
More gaslighting.
Here we go. More fantasy make-believe of being a victim. More
man.
disillusionment. This is what they want you to do.
This is good
They want
stuff.
you to run this over and over and over. What's going to happen? You're going to now talk about how the next conversation or whatever is going to be, any topic from here on out, is going to be some gaslit part, and you're just going to keep at it, yeah? You see, Left Lane, I'm asking for your authentic and genuine perception of an experience without the distortion and disillusionment of an enterprise. Do you understand that your education is said enterprise? And obviously it wants to distort your view of reality because
No,
it makes
I disagree.
money on you seeing
I disagree.
it this way.
Are you guys
Truth.
talking about what shooting stars are?
What's up, Fundy? Yeah, that was kind of what it was on, dude. Yeah, basically, we were talking about a few things. Left Lane actually saw a big shooting star in the middle of this, and then this is where we're at. Can you save us?
Yeah,
We are
I,
getting
I don't think I can say anything, but I can just say honestly, I don't know what the fuck shooting stars are. Besides what I see, I've seen one before, but that's about it.
This whole question is just an honesty check. That's all he's
It
doing.
really
He's
is.
checking to see if you can be honest with yourself and him. Otherwise, it's pointless to talk to you. Like, it's
Wait,
so
wait,
simple.
wait.
I don't know how you don't get it.
Pure rigor, when you say him, are you implying Christ or God?
No. I just meant like he can't answer you because he's afraid of being honest.
There you
His answer.
go. Yes, great. We have exposed the behavior, which is disingenuine.
More gaslighting.
And
No,
now
this
you
isn't
get to
gaslighting. It's like, can you separate yourself from what you're attached to? Are you capable of that? Right?
no, you see, a drug addict can't.
Well, I said if I was a caveman, I would say, oh, there's a light in the sky.
That's intellectual dishonesty by reducing.
Bro, all you're doing is
imagination
psychoanalyzing him.
No, you're just diminishing it, right? So you're so afraid to answer honestly. Just give a flat out answer. It's like a yes or no, and you got to spend 20 minutes answering something. You have to put yourself as a caveman to diminish the whole entire question instead of just answering the question. I don't get it.
I answered it a long time ago.
And I just explained when
you
you
see,
said once you
pure
put the
rigor,
pretense
you're
that I was a caveman.
Pure rigor. You see, what he's doing is simply this. He's trying to gaslight the very ability to imagine otherwise with reducing imagination to that of being caveman-like. So
Right.
whenever, yes, so
Yeah,
there
I
you
answered it as a caveman. I see a light in the
go,
sky.
that's a caveman.
Pretty light
Why
in the
as a
sky.
caveman?
That's
Okay,
it.
great.
And
So
then
why
you explain it to him, and he repeats himself.
What might they be though? I mean,
Great.
what might shooting stars be if we're speculating? I might relate them to like a
didn't want to
neuron
answer.
pattern. It's
Good
like,
job,
He's,
Dan.
he's
By the way.
afraid of giving his honest opinion
Or
on the
gaslighting.
matter.
People have been banned inside out for
Exactly.
less.
Gaslighting,
Gaslighting.
sure. You're gaslighting
Hey,
yourself
it is,
to begin
it
with,
is.
Guys, can we
because
please, all right, please, anyone doing personal stuff is just going to be muted. Please just stick to the information because this is just
Yes.
turning into a personal chaos thing. So, Fundy or somebody, do you want to pick it up on what shooting stars are or some topic that we can stick to, please? It's not just a personal mudslinging fest.
this is not a personal mudslinging fest, although it can quickly become so if you portray it in this narration.
All right, the conversation is who's been gaslighting, and the word gaslight has been said 30 times in the last 3 minutes. So,
Yeah,
let's just
that's-
move on to something. So, let's just get back to a topic or something, please.
You see, this is quite the problem, no, because you can just do this in any topic, and then it can be, oh, let's please move on. Oh, so much.
Carry on, guys.
From my point of view, guys, I believe the stars, if they are stars in the firmament, I believe that they are for used for time, date, and for signs. Like personally, myself, my friend and I were up north, and we got into a very, very precarious situation. And as soon as we made it through, without issue, we literally it was like a miracle. We both saw a shooting star, and we thought, wow, that was a sign.
how do you think shooting stars would relate to being signs of the times?
Hmm.
They're so random and sporadic. You know, what I mean, maybe there is an order to them, but I don't think anyone's really decoded like the pattern or system of shooting stars. They seem really random. I mean, everything happens according to order, of course, but shooting stars, they don't follow the same sort of cyclical pattern of stars or planets or sun or moon. You know what I mean? It's kind of willy nilly.
Yeah, we were talking about how many stars the human eye can resolve, and I think Seafoam, he checked, it was about
This
2,000.
was like 4,000. Yeah, that was really interesting. And even when he brought up that number specifically, most of the people in the room said, "Wow, that seems like a lot less than I'd suspect." Because on a clear night, you know, I mean, how many of us have really counted the stars in the sky on a clear night? Right? Probably none of us. But I have to agree with that that vibe in the room when I heard it brought up. Like 4,000 or 2,000, that seems kind of low compared to what I've seen on out in the desert or whatever.
Yeah, the New Mexican desert is an amazing place to catch the stars because it's like naturally almost a mile above sea level and not a lot of light pollution.
I would imagine that millions of stars are visible to the human eye. But maybe I'm wrong. I've never counted myself, so who am I to say? I just would have imagined more than 2,000 would have been the answer if I did count them.
Yeah, maybe if it's directly in front of us, we have 2,000 there, and then we have another 2,000 behind us. So if we do a 180, maybe.
I mean, for anyone who can see like the Milky Way rift, I mean, I'd imagine that even like a small portion of the Milky Way rift would include more than 2,000. But I don't know. Shooting stars, though, I don't know what the fuck they are. They're really interesting. I've only seen a few in my life because I don't look up in the sky every night that often or whatever, especially the light pollution in the city. But what even are those?
Aren't shooting stars like meteorites burning up in their upper atmosphere or some shit like that?
That's
Yeah,
exactly what they are. I'm fully sold on that idea. Yes, that's it.
As you described, it's true. They are random. They have no pattern. They have no prediction other than the couple of times a year where they're more frequent and they're given names like the Orion meteorites because in that
Torrid meteor shower.
right. So that tells us that they're of a very different kind of object in the sky than the what we call the stars. So yeah, they
I
are
don't know,
random.
man. If there's an annual cycle called the Torrid meteor shower, I don't know if it's annual or whatever basis, then I don't view that as like extremely different than any other cycle of lights in the sky. Like it seems like every single one of the lights in the sky have their own sort of cyclical pattern.
The
But the individuals that we see striking the atmosphere have no specific prediction. Just the higher frequency occurring, at given times of the year.
I don't know if you can say that with such a high degree of confidence. I mean, maybe they do. Who are you to say they don't?
So there is a sporadic meteorite research that shows that actually some sporadic meteorites, they're not just random going around. There's key regions in the sky where they originate from, and they've like diagrammed it and shit. I just posted a GIF of the Perseid meteor shower. It's like it's not like a time lapse, but it's like you can look at it when you see it. But you can see that they're originating from a region in the sky. It's not just random.
Well, the
Have
individual.
cyclical patterns, don't they?
Yeah, but the
Aliens,
individual.
whatever, that's cyclical.
We're talking about the individual events. I mean, like, oh, there's one now. Well, that's not, that wasn't predicted to be now, other than, associated with that time of year. Now, sometimes, stars, a meteor, hitting the atmosphere that we can observe comes in at an angle which is not part of the Perseids or the the named periods where that increases.
Yeah, and I was actually looking recently if anyone actually been hit by a meteorite, and supposedly there's no recorded fatalities from a meteorite. Thank goodness.
Yeah, because they don't make it to the surface because of the atmosphere. The atmosphere protects us.
Maybe shooting stars do reoccur on a cyclical basis, and it's just not something that's been put in the books and recorded or paid attention to in that manner yet. I couldn't tell you yay or nay.
Like the Choblensk event in 2013. Blindsided everybody. Had no idea where it came from. No pattern or named meteor region that it's from.
There's no obligation, The sky has no obligation to be on a cyclical, frequency that reoccurs within anyone's lifetime. The sky, any sort of, like Halley's Comet, how often that come around? Every 80 years, 60 years or something? Who's to say that shooting stars aren't on a frequency of every 300 years? There's no obligation for the sky to have frequencies of reoccurrence within one person's lifetime. So if no one's paying attention to them or, recording them, then who are we to say that they're random instead of cyclical? I don't know.
How many satellites have been completely destroyed from a meteorite, or does it have anti-gravity properties? I guess the Earth's gravity would pull the meteorite rather than any satellite.
Yeah, I guess in the heliocentric model, isn't like every second of every day just a miracle that some rock doesn't just come fucking, explode and kill us all?
I think one's on the way, right, for a flyby soon. What was that, guys? 2030 something?
Yeah, something like that.
I'll check.
But yeah, what a miracle every day is, though, in the model. Just thank random circumstance that we're even here right now.
Yeah, in the Goldilocks zone.
But also hail Jupiter, right? You ever heard that Jupiter, the largest planet, right, in the solar system, intercepts a lot of the meteors that would hit Earth, but thank goodness Jupiter, our gaseous giant protector, intercepts a lot of them that would be on their path towards hitting us, but then its force draws them in and it intercepts them and protects us.
That's true. Great. Thanks for
Praise
reminding
Jupiter,
me.
everybody. Praise Jupiter, our protector.
Was that anchovy? What were you gonna say? Oh, the next meteor shower.
Oh yeah, I was just posting some links. The next annual meteor showers in April, so keep an eye out if you want to watch that one, I guess.
Thank you. Up to 18 meteors an hour. The last meteorite that I saw was just late last year, and it had this blue light in the.
What is like the most zoomed in, highest quality image of what we call shooting stars that
Oh,
exists?
great question.
Good question. I mean, they're so fast. I'd imagine that there is no zoomed in, 500th of a second shutter speed image of a, flyby shooting star, meteor, asteroid, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I think you probably left empty-handed asking for evidence of that.
You'd have to take a frame from a video. I'm pretty sure they record these, especially the annual ones.
It's so fast. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like when you zoom in, right? When you zoom in, it's even faster in appearance. I mean,
Yeah.
To get any sort of detail, that almost seems like an impossible task with today's technology.
Yeah, how long is the streak in the sky for generally? I guess depending on the size, maybe 1 second.
Yeah, maybe even if that. Yeah.
I think I've seen ones that might be as long as maybe 2 seconds though, where they really hang there. Maybe even 3, but like,
Yeah.
well, 3's getting up there. Like 1, 2, that's a long time. Yeah, but maybe upwards of 2.
Yeah.
Gio, was they what would you describe them as? Are they metal objects? What are they, please? Like, I would really love to know what you think.
They're chunks of
I
ice.
asked Gio
That's what they are. Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
I know that you'd love to address the question, but I asked Gio specifically. Did you not hear? Gio, what do you think these things are?
What are they, Gio? Tell us.
Well, I don't have any way to physically go there to confirm, so I wouldn't have any way to physically tangibly validate. But I could speculate. I mean, it seems like an emission of light, a luminous emission of light, and I think it's likely that electromagnetic and electrostatics would be behind it. That there's pathways in the sky, like these are flux lines in the sky, and so sort of like in a way you have lightning that connects the ground to the sky. You have earthquakes, which is electricity shooting through the ground, and then these shooting stars would be potentially electricity shooting in whatever the medium is above us through that medium. So, but I mean, potentially like plasma could be involved, even like sonoluminescence, the way that sound vibrations in a liquid, in a medium, like a bubble within a medium, will emit light with sonoluminescence, so they could have a sonoluminescent quality to them. But yeah, I think within the range of luminosity with electromagnetic and electrostatic emission.
Well, applause to you. I would say that you've gone a long way further with wanting to figure out what this may or may not be. But all aside with the adopted theories and ideas to describe whatever it is. Could
Is
you
that Seact?
attempt to give me? Yeah, it's definitely Seact.
You got a new name, or you spell it differently now?
This feels like you are shifting the topic for some
No,
reason.
no, no. Just making
Still
sure I
asking
know.
Geo a question.
Oh, just you and Geo. Okay, 1-on-1. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's you can be included.
I had
right,
something
if you
to
want to be
say,
part of the
but yeah, no,
conversation.
no. You see, go ahead, finish up.
Please go
I'll
ahead.
remember. I'll remember my comments. You finish up with Geo 1-on-1, and I'll say afterwards.
Okay, great. So, yeah, Geo. Um, all the good theories aside, what do you honestly think?
Be honest, Geo. Tell us what you really think.
Please stop trying to like reduce the genuine question into absurdity, Fundy. Your somewhat self-rolled character of comedy Phil has been duly noted, but it's not needed here.
I'm just filling space. Geo can answer. Geo.
Dude, it's all good. I'm kind of back and forth from my mic. I mean, I answered. I did respond. Was there something secondary, or was Funny gonna respond to it, or?
I had my own
Are
comments,
you
but they're not
trembling at the
welcome
question?
yet.
Okay, well, the question is simply, all good theories aside, that are adopted and accepted, etc. Geo, what are you seeing?
Well, I mean, I think I went through that, dude. I mean, from the most honest position in all ways possible, I cannot go there to get any tangible physical data, so I can only view them from Earth, like we all can.
That's it.
So it's something I'm viewing. So that's why I said in the realm of speculation. Although I don't think it's entirely speculation, because some of these things can be replicated. Some of these things can be replicated, like sonoluminescence and things on Earth. So too, it's not like a complete, But go ahead.
But before we go into all the imaginaries, which you obviously can tell, you see, you haven't been there, which is obviously very important in the experience of actually knowing what it is. So until you have, and until anyone in this room actually have, it's all just a conversation of fantasy make-believe.
There are two things I can confidently claim about it, though. Seact.
Sure. Confidently claims in my imaginations too. I can also create confident imaginary claims, right?
No, I'm just talking about imaginary. I'm just talking about principles.
Sure?
Listen, you're picking up the wrong guy, especially since I'm maybe the one person in this entire room that would back you up on a conversation that happened about 2 months ago with Jeremy, when you're explaining the cyclical, self-destructive, self-reinforcing aspect of philosophy and logic being anyways, you got a really deep philosophy that I heard got explained. Like Jeremy kind of interviewed you for about 4 hours straight, and no one seemed to understand you, except I gotta tell you, man, you were basically just saying my own thoughts out loud, and it's always a good feeling. You know what I mean? It's always a really good feeling when you hear someone else explain something the way that you would also explain it. So I don't know. I'm imagining that you don't understand how much you think the same way I do, and maybe getting things wrong. Anyways, when it comes to shooting stars, let's get back on track. Because I don't think Gio is really that interested in responding to the question, but I am. And my comments that I would say, there's two things that I can say about shooting stars, but also anything in general that I can confidently claim, is that whatever we witness, these shooting stars, they so it's like, how are they acting? I say, well, everything acts according to some process of pressure mediation. The universe is a continuous act of a continuous balancing act. Everything is seeking its most lowest state. You know what I mean? Seeking balance. So it's happening because of pressure mediation, and then of course, maybe that's the why. Why is it happening? It's happening because pressure mediation. Now, what is it doing? Well, there's only two options of what we're seeing. It's some sort of spinning or pulsing phenomena, or not this or that, but some sort of combination of spinning and pulsing. Whatever that light in the sky is, it's a result of rotation and pulsing, and because some sort of active pressure mediation is going
Sorry
on.
if I'm intervening you there, Fundy.
Yep, go ahead. I'm done.
So, thank you very much for the kind words that you gave me. It's for some reason something I never hear.
You got a good philosophy on logic and all that.
Well, I could actually just call myself a whistleblower in the educational system. But some people here will just call me now, like I should not ever have mentioned that even. You see, that's the problem. But nevertheless.
Why don't we get on that other subject? Like I was mentioning, that you gave like a 3-hour interview with Jimmy. I think that's pretty interesting. I think at the core of it, you're saying that logic is something that relies on itself to make its own points. If you know what I mean? Like it ends up referencing itself to defend itself. If you see what I'm saying?
Well, it will definitely be created to be self-evidently defending itself. Yeah.
It's really similar to
its own system. It would be illogical. See what I'm saying? Like its own survival depends on its ability to jail itself in a sense. Meaning it needs to be serving as its own prisoner, guard, etc.
Yeah, master and servant all in one.
Unfortunately, and already there you have created a false reality.
Now, I remember that day you were talking about how you were working on creating, and excuse me for using any sort of wrong terminology here, but in simple ways of putting it, you were basically mentioning how you were developing your own philosophy or your own religion as a I don't know, how would you put it? You probably do a better way of describing it than I could. But you know what I'm talking about, I think.
Well,
a book or a system or something like that?
Yes, I am developing a way to actually be further, or, well, how to put this very simple. I'm developing what I would call something akin to unfiltered seeing, meaning to attempt and do what Left Lane, unfortunately, here did not, which is to be able to actually put words to one's own experiences and not just blindly adopt that of some formalized and trained spelling.
Now, this might have already been done, by the way.
Yeah, but you can also learn how to sing a song, right?
Yeah, I can learn how to sing a song.
Yes,
I got something to tell you, though, but go ahead first.
I can start sharing my songs with you if you want. So we can do that later as well. But
well, check this out, man. I heard I was listening to a video the other day, and they're talking about subject and objective, and then it was a video that reminded me of you and also myself because of when I listened to it, I realized, oh shit, you and I think about things really similarly. And this video, it mentioned a term that I tried googling, it didn't show up in the way that the video was using it. So I don't know what website you need to go to, what online dictionary you need to find the way that this person was using it. But they use the term superjective. They're like, there's objective, there's subjective, but then and I related to this a lot, and I think you would too. They said superjective. You ever heard of such a thing?
Yeah. No, but we can look at the topic, but I'll just say it right here and now that it's already just another distraction within a system that's already at base fallacious. So
you got no grounds. You got no grounds to claim that.
Yeah, I could reduce the laws of logic to just simply explain what they are, but it would be going by most people's heads.
Yeah, but you got no grounds to claim that this term I just invoked, superjective, isn't actually just exactly your opinion that someone has already discovered and outlined. Maybe these thoughts that you think are very original to yourself are nothing new under the sun that someone's already outlined the whole description of.
Or just the very idea of nothing being under the sun is the universal gaslight that is adopted by a very systemic venom, which one incorporates from a very early on, meaning a sort of idea of it supposed there not being any originality because some kind of overseeing entity supposedly has already seen it before you, meaning that there can be no original genius at base in your supposition.
I'm not arguing that point specifically. I'm just saying there's the approach that you come at describing reality with, like your understanding of it, and that there's been so many people that are historically notable and emphasized and taught about. But
yes,
I think there might have been a philosopher who's already existed that had the exact same viewpoint as you, or at least extremely similar to the way you view things, who just isn't all that famous, but already has existed, and that you would find yourselves overlapping in thought with, like to like a high 90 percentile with.
Definitely not.
You say that, but no one knows what they don't know. So
that's
I came across something and I was like, oh shit, this sounds exactly what Seact talks about.
It does sometimes. That's because the truth is very important to gatekeep. So in the lie there will be some truth, so it will sound like, but not just. That's how you create a very discord.
Well, the only way to make a fair comparison is for you to finish your book, put it down in words, so I can compare it to this thing that I'm mentioning once I track it down. Like I said,
but it won't be a comparison. It will be an unmasking.
I don't follow you there. I mean, I will compare your words to this other guy's words.
Well, look at it this way. You are already now in the audience, and you're waiting for a show. And I'm not going up on the stage to give you one rock against another to contrast.
Once you make a book, that's kind of what's going on.
In the audience, already explaining the very fact of what's going on. No, it's not the same. You see, philosophy is a systematized gaslight, really, but let's just not call it that immediately. But it's definitely a very nice fantasy to make you view reality in a specific way, which ends up with you standing on the ground and naming stuff that you definitely are seeing with all but your own ability to put words to your experience. Meaning it's definitely a very occultation of your very experience of being alive. Meaning that my philosophy is no new occult gatekeeping. It's actually just the very hand that moves the veil of said gatekeeping.
Yeah, that's not very original. I mean, according to me, like it's not original to me, but
the originality is simply that.
Let's see what happens when I Google superjective. Okay, any guess from you as how you would imagine that word is defined before I read the definition?
Superjective.
You've already decided that it has nothing to do with your thoughts. So let's double check. And what do you think superjective means?
Some kind of yeah, this is a good example. Look, guys, I'm using my ability to reason. Yeah.
Okay, well,
here's a case example, guys. I'm using my imagination. Great. I can own it. Yeah. Okay, let's now be so unafraid and ask the question, answer the question. Yeah, this is very difficult apparently for many, but let's do it. What was it again, Fundy, please?
Superjective?
Superjective, yeah, okay.
Not objective or subjective, but superjective?
Search word up.
I think despite how well this Google AI overview describes it, when I listened to a video describing it on YouTube, I might be able to track it down or not. But when I was listening to it, I was like,
my mic is open. It's super sensitive. You can now hear me just clicking H.
Dude, what are you doing? Dude, what are you doing?
I'll copy paste it.
Dude, what are you doing?
Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying.
What are you doing, dude?
My mic is... Yeah, listen to what I'm saying.
I was in the middle of reading definition. What are you doing?
Yes, you are.
Is this on topic? Is this important? All right.
Fundy.
Tell me the important words you have to say in the middle of what I was saying. Go ahead.
Just you asked me
afterwards. I'm going to continue, but go ahead first.
Yeah, great. You asked me the very question of using my imagination to address superjective, and then suddenly you started giving the description yourself before I was allowed to respond, which is
took too long, dude. Yeah, you took too long.
So who's the judge and
jury?
Yeah,
you took too long.
Took too long. It sounds that's your impatience.
Okay? I am the judge and jury. Yes.
Great. So you were suddenly impatient.
It's my opinion. I operate according to my own code.
Great.
You took too long, so I carried on.
Okay.
And I view it as pretty patient. You just surpassed my limits of patience. I wouldn't call it impatient. I just would call it surpassing my limits of patience. But go ahead.
Why have you limits to your patience?
That's how I roll. But hey, I'm willing to extend it. Go ahead first, and I'll go on afterwards, man. But if you're not going to be on point, I'm going to continue and ignore you. But I'll give you a chance. Go ahead.
Okay. So we had a really good conversation, and now suddenly you're, for some reason, really
enough meta. Make your point, man. No, just go ahead.
Okay, great. Then let me make my point.
I'm listening.
Don't interrupt me while I'm making. Yeah, great.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to get back at superjective, or do you want to keep talking about your impatience?
I want you to say whatever you want to say, and then I'm going to read the definition of superjective. Yeah, but you first.
It's not that I'm going to say whatever I want to say, and then you're going to read the definition.
That is exactly how things are going to go. Unless you're going to say something you don't want to say, which would be impossible.
Why are you suddenly
Anyways, say whatever you want to say, and then I'm going to. Oh, I'm the one playing games.
Fourth order?
No,
No,
I'm
you're
just trying to
invoking
move
the game here.
forward. I'm just trying to move forward in the conversation. I have something prepared I want to tell you, but if you want to say anything before I recite what I want to say, then go for it. I'll go after you. Go ahead and go first.
Yeah, great. Okay, great. So we have now gotten the evidence that you obviously have something you want to say. I think.
Absolutely.
Sounds like
I
you
have something
really
pulled up right
want to be
now. I've
saying
been
what
wanting to
you're
recite to
saying.
you. Yes,
Yeah,
I have
so
something
I
planned that I
guess-
want to say. But if you want to go first and make any statements before I go, I will listen to you, respond to it accordingly, and put this in, when it's time. But that can wait. You go first. If you don't have anything to say, I'll go ahead. But if you want to say something first, I'll listen to you and respond accordingly, and then go out and then read this afterwards. But come on, man. We don't want to waste people's time too much.
Okay, great. So this is a perfect example. Do you realize how you're framing the conversation?
Yeah. Are you done then?
Yeah, man.
I do understand. I do understand how I'm framing it. I'm framing it in the sense that you have something you want to say. I'll listen to you, have a conversation about it, a dialogue, but I do have something in mind I want to get to. That is the frame.
Okay, great.
What do you want to say?
And the frame you are forcing creates a
come on,
very
man. Come on,
unhealthy
man.
conversational platform.
Everyone sees what you're doing. Why? Like, do you have nothing to
No.
say? Because I have something
It's you who
pulled
are
up right here that I want to read to you. That you're doing everything you can to like prolong. Can I move on to say something of value, man?
Yourself.
Can
Yeah,
I
that would
just
be
read
very
the
nice if you
definition?
could actually have some value. Yeah, let's see the value by your definition.
Dude, I've been trying. Okay, cool. I've been trying for the past like 5 minutes just to read the definition of superjective. So, I guess it comes from a guy named Alfred North Whitehead. I feel like I've heard that name before, but anyways, the AI overview says, when you Google superjective, says, in Alfred North Whitehead's process of philosophy, superjective, in quotations, refers to the way God's synthesis of the world becomes a sense datum for other actual entities, meaning God's influence and presence are immanent in the world, luring it towards greater intensity of experience. I feel like the next paragraph might clear things up a bit more. Here's a more detailed explanation. Process philosophy, so it's titled. Whitehead's philosophy emphasizes the dynamic and interconnectedness nature of reality, where everything is constantly evolving and becoming. And then it goes on to describe God's three natures. I don't think any of those really did it justice, but that was just what I was trying to read simply to tell you that when I watched the video that went into a lot more detail about this whole superjective topic, it reminded me a lot of your approach towards understanding reality that I heard you talk about with Jeremy when he was interviewing for like 3 hours straight a few months ago. And then when I heard the video talking about superjective recently, I was like, oh man, that's exactly the same stuff Seact was talking about.
I'm pretty sure Whitehead was the precursor to Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell's the guy he went to was Whitehead, pretty sure. But if you guys are on about relativism, that's cool.
Well, thank you so much with what you wanted to share with me, Fundy, but you're kind of leaving me at some intermediary. What now?
Yeah.
Well, you could go on to describe, if you see any alignments, if you remember the conversation you had before, if you still subscribe to the points made to Jeremy that one night, if there's any like obvious contradictions or any highlighting synchronicities that you want to mention. We're just two people having a conversation, and how you feel about that definition.
Well, first and foremost, I have no recollection of being interviewed by Jeremy.
Oh man, it was a real special event. Like I said, it was like 3 to 4 hours long. I could even figure out the exact day it was if I tried hard enough, but basically,
Yeah, we can definitely find a day. I'm certain the event happened in actuality.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was framed as an interview, you see.
It was framed as you have. I mean, that's how I would describe it. It was pretty much just you and Jeremy, and some of the people chimed in, but he basically just led you down a path of allowing you to have the stage from the hours of let's say 9:00 a.m. my time to noon. And during those hours, it was just 3 hours of Jeremy making sure you had the time to fully flesh out something that you wanted everyone else to understand. So you can a lecture if you want, but it was like a guided lecture, and I would call it more of like a interview, like I split it.
That sounds, to be honest, that sounds really beautiful, but that's not at all how any conversation with me is actually framed. But you see, the narration that you now give in hindsight does indeed paint a really beautiful picture. I would hope that was how actually the conversations might be going forth. But I have no recollection of there actually being a situation where I have been specifically put on, let's say, a spotlight to be interviewed before now, really, with you here.
That's what happened, man. You wanted to talk about, where else would I have heard all these different ideas that I relate to you? You explained so much. You know what? Maybe this will jog your memory. You said you had 3 debunks of something in particular, and Jeremy spent 3 hours with you making sure you had the time and the attention to explain your 3 ways you can debunk. I forget what it was. Maybe it was logic itself or the way it's applied, but there was definitely like a sort of chapter system to it where we went one by one. It was like a 3-hour process. Jeremy made sure whenever it had tangents springing off of it that eventually got back on track. And you went on like 5-minute rants at a time before it opened up to question and answer sort of things. And I wish I could remember more specific details. Given enough time, I could, but come on, man, you got to know what I'm talking about. It's like a whole like crucial component to like how you think about the world. You have these like you have like this like 3-system systematic debunk of like logic or something. You know what I'm talking about. Don't play dumb. There you go.
No, I don't play dumb. I don't never play dumb. But anyway, yeah, sure. I have had a conversation with Jeremy. I think actually on more than one occasion. But yeah, I think it's even recorded.
But I mean, it might have been one of the live streams, the way things are hosted nowadays, where the live streams end up getting deleted. They're not like recorded on any sort of like VOD.
Yeah,
so maybe it's lost of time. I don't know. But I gotta say, man, on that day, it didn't seem like anyone agreed with you except for me. I was listening on YouTube, and I really hated how it didn't seem like anything you said at all for 3 hours straight. It didn't seem like anyone took you seriously or agreed with a single thing you said. Although when I was listening, it sounded like my own thoughts were being spoken out loud into my ears, and I was like, "Hey, that's exactly what I think about this shit." So
yeah, that's usually how the truth is before all the costume comes to defend the fakery.
But you think I'm someone who like doesn't understand you, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like maybe you think that no one understands you, and I'm just trying to tell you, like, on that day, I completely agree with everything you said, even though it was very clear everyone on the Discord talking to you and asking questions didn't agree with you at all, like 0%, even though I agree with you 100%.
Because you see, I only speak for the truth, and the truth is underdog to all the lies.
Well, I would just call it the paradoxical approach of philosophy instead of being one-sided, because as soon as you have a one-sided philosophy, the other side can easily poke holes on you, so you got to cover all your bases by speaking paradoxically.
No, that's just how you keep playing the chess. You see, that's why the board is checkered. And so you're only playing the game with yourself, really. And yeah, it's an eternal loop of just an eternal checkmate. Like,
well, if you want to say something specific, we can address that. But I don't know. Listening to you, I almost had a few points of advice. I wish I wasn't. I was driving a truck. I was working. Well, it was early in the day, so I was at work and I listened on YouTube. But there were just a few points where I wanted to correct you in your philosophy. But so you'd have to bring up some specific points for me to give those corrections to you again, because I forget specifically, what to address. But it sounded like something that you it sounded like something that you wouldn't forget. It seems like some real core components to like the way you think about things. So anytime you want to discuss that topic, I think I have a few improvements you can make on your thoughts.
Well, if in actuality there are improvements, I get that I sound delusional by saying this, but yeah, I'm obviously open for critique and betterment, and if you have an honest opinion about any flaws in whatever I have said so far, then yeah, open to it. But you see, I have yet to even write my philosophy, and I don't even call it a philosophy because it's not.
Well, written, verbal, whatever, man. Whenever you want to go over the same things you talked about that morning again sometime with me or with the whole group, let me know, because I definitely had some commentary I want to give to you about it. Mostly in agreement, but just a few nitpicks I wanted to make.
Well, you can just do it now if you like. Sounds like a good time for it.
I need you to jog my memory. It's a whole systematic approach, right? It's so nuanced and detailed. Like I said, it was like a 3-hour conversation, and you had it structured into like 3 chapters. So we'd have to approach it in that way again.
Okay. Sure. Well, now what then?
Well, we could start. I do have to go in like 20 minutes, but any might want to start right now. I'd be happy to participate in, but maybe it's best saved for another night. But if you're down, I'm down for 20 minutes. As long as you have a recollection of your like 3, your 3 points like you had outlined in that day before.
Well, what I am working with is always developing, so what I have said at some point might just be completely changed already, and it's not escaping myself. That's just not, accepting this illusionment of thinking that what is real or experiential learning has to be sort of forcefully made blind into a dogma, which is obviously that I am learning, and so by learning, I change my opinion too.
So when you do end up making your book, if it does get put down in like written form, you're gonna have like volume 1, and then maybe a year later, you're gonna have like a volume 2 with some alterations or addition 2.
I think it will be quite simple actually, but I would say write a lot, but that would more be putting what I'm formalizing into examples. So what I'm actually writing should just be like well, for me, I know it sounds maybe grand, but it would be best suited to be distilled down as best as possible, like laws of logic itself, just in my own way, so that people can actually use it.
Do you remember, since you said you remember that conversation with Jeremy, could you do me a favor and remind me what exactly it was, those 3 like controversial arguments, or 3, like, you know what I mean? You're like, there's 3 major points I want to make you about this theme. What was that theme? They had 3 points on. Was it logic? I think that was what it was about, right? And sort of like dispelling some misconceptions or some incorrect dogmas about logic itself. Was that the theme? They had your 3 points on that day?
Well, I think what you're talking about, it sounds like you're talking about Me, is it when I went through each law within the laws of logic?
Yeah.
And worked them piece by
I think
piece?
I think that jogged my memory a little bit right there. What you just said. Yeah, it might have been the three laws of logic. Like you had an argument debunking or dispelling whatever, like the law of like A equals A, or yeah, things like that, right? A
Yeah,
equals
so
B, that sort of thing, right?
great. Then what was your question again?
My question was, and there's probably not time enough to talk about it with me tonight because I got to go soon. But I was just trying to remember clearly what the theme of that conversation was. And yeah, I think you're right. It was about your corrections or debunking of the three laws of logic. And one of the ways Jeremy was arguing against you was this like semantical like. I can't replicate it right now. Often memory was like, well, if A equals A, then A has to equal A, and B is B, so B is B, and A can't be B. And you were always saying like, I have my own way of explaining or translating what those expressions mean. That surely jogs my memory, right? Where Jeremy was giving a really hard time about putting the laws of logic into English vocabulary instead of a mathematical formula. Because instead of like A equals A, you're saying this is that or this is this. Like you're putting it into English terms instead of algebraic formulas. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to talk to you someday about that because I had a few nitpicks with you about that. But overall, it seemed like no one understood what you meant that day, and I, listening in, was in complete agreement basically with what you're saying, which was a real shame because I was like, oh man, no one understands what you're saying, but I do. And anyways, so keep that in mind, and next time we meet up, come at me with that whole presentation because yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Just for a sec though,
Yeah.
could you start us off? Like, could we reenact that conversation, or could we rehash that point? Let's just start with the first one if you don't mind. So the first
We
law
could,
of logic,
but
what is that? The law of identity or something? A equals A.
we could, but you kind of put me on the pedestal now for I don't know, 40 minutes, and it doesn't invite other people into the room.
No, you're right. All right, I'll stand for the night. You guys carry on. Sorry to hog the mic.
It's not that I don't want to address the question; it's that I think, yeah, I can still do it though.
Yeah, next time, dude. Next time.
No, we can do it now, but we could continue in a way that invites the room. Is what I'm saying.
I will say you made it a lot more difficult than it needed to be, dude.
No, it's not so difficult. It's quite easy actually. It's just to invite the room. But I can demonstrate for you, I guess, how we invite the room. So we can create a topic which is the laws of logic.
Yeah, talk about the laws of logic.
Yeah, that would be great. So in order to do that, I'm now actually searching up the traditional notion because that's important if we're actually going to talk about a topic fairly. Language, meaning that the very notion of laws of logic itself is a presupposition, which is very important to distinctively note down because it's an apparent fact that you read by just the very one single sentence that is written here describing the laws of thought. And we can just go, like if I even could share my screen, I could just demonstrate this very much simpler, but here's the page. And the first line reads, the laws of thought are fundamental axiomatic rules upon which rational discourse itself is often considered to be based. So the key word here is often considered.
Right. But when you're
So
going to
we just
address
go into
them,
accepting it. Yeah.
but when you address them, the ways that you point out they are false, which is like my overall critique is that I've been saying for a long time, there's two perspectives that a human can hold. The egocentric practical perspective, but then the human mind also has this amazing ability to, some people, I imagine everyone can tap into it if they wish to, but some people more easily than others, is to view things from the universal absolute perspective. And that there's two perspectives that a human has the capability of viewing anything from: the universal absolute perspective and the personal practical perspective.
Yeah.
And that both are equally true, but the laws of logic as they're described only come from the egocentric practical perspective, and it's not a very challenging thing to do to describe the exceptions to that when viewed from the universal perspective. And so they're not all the way true. They're the one-sided half truth. So I'd say your corrections are also just the other true half of a paradoxical complete understanding.
Yeah, just to like slow it down and make this more palatable for everyone listening. Simply, what I'm doing, like I will reshare what I wrote in the chat, and it's on the bottom now. So here I started to reconfigure the sentence given in the description of the laws of thought on Wikipedia. We don't need to use Wikipedia, but right now it's just a case example, okay? So here it says, the laws of thought are fundamental axiomatic rules upon which rational discourse itself is often considered to be based. So what am I doing now? Look at the sentence. The laws of thought, which would be this is the character that we create, the laws of thought. So we put it in the brackets to just, put it forth. There it is. And
the
so
laws of personal egocentric thought.
Yeah, we could say. And as you earlier now gave a very good example of, it's very easy to be made in a way so that suddenly you use more philosophical ideas, etc., 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 and it becomes like it just keeps on reaffirming itself, and you sort of have created like a mind virus, and it's very difficult to solve if you don't actually understand how a sentence is construed, because else you can suddenly just start accepting it as blind, truth, by just simply speaking the supposed law or the logic within the very framework that self-evidently makes itself a fact.
Yeah, it's
Like a
relatable.
sentence is itself. Yes, exactly. You could say that it's a kind of weaponization of your logic by construing or narrating a construe for you, which creates a sort of like idealized view of what it is, and then we sort of just simply accept it for what it is, just like the earlier example with the sky, with the stars in the sky, now being projected with a placeholder language. Yeah. So
Well, I mean, the law of identity, right? Wouldn't your opinion be that like someone thinking I'm me and you're you? That's the egocentric practical view of things. Sure, that's very logical according to most people. I'm me and you are you, and I is not you and you is not I. But if we're dealing with the absolute universal perspective, I am you and you is I, and that limiting your understanding to you is not I and I is not you is more of an illusion than anything else, because all is one and one is all.
look at what I'm now doing with the sentence. The laws of thought. We can even just do this. The laws of thought are fundamental. And like,
Shout
look
out.
at the words they're using. Yeah, fund, ment, all. So they're funding a mentality for all. And you have axiom, ethic. Like we can just keep going, breaking up the words, and we can really understand the logic of how you are blindly accepting certain words. But today, this will be gaslighted as, oh, you can't say anything for any word because you have no idea. So you're obviously gaslit to having no knowledge of anything because for some reason, supposedly we can't know anything at base. Like that's the very adopted trauma that they have learned to keep gaslighting us with from school. But it's false because obviously, if I create a mark, it's very distinct. Like if I mark something on a tree, it's obviously very distinct. And that's obviously what I mark is jargon, but then it's distinctively jargon. Yeah. So the logic is very sound. Obviously, if it's not sound, there's still logic to explain that it's unsound just by saying you have sound and dissonance or other words such as frequency or alignment, etc. But rather,
What is orderly is
what
chaotic,
is
and what is
real?
chaotic is orderly. Yes. All the highest philosophical truths have to be spoken in paradoxical statements. Sums it all up.
No, no, that's not what I'm saying. And it does not sum it all up, but it does sum it all up in a specific dualistic mindset. Because what you are saying, opposites attract, etc., and all these stuff, plus minus and convergent of 0 and 1 and all this stuff.
Like attracts like, and opposites attract. Paradoxical. Boom. All the high
Sure.
philosophical tracks have to be spoken in paradoxical statements. Like attracts like, and also opposites attract. Both are equally true. Those are contradictory statements, although they're both accurate.
Great. And so if you want to approach what we're talking about with intellectual honesty, which is to accept the very notion that, yes, I could myself even be quite blind of what actually is, and to dare die to your beliefs, simply, because that would be a good idea. Not just an idea, but an actuality. Because what do you really want to know? Like, do you want to actually be in existence and know what is real? Or do you want to live by the abide of fantasies? Because it's ultimately quite simple, and that's not a binary. It sounds like a binary, but it's not a binary. Because it's actually, reality itself is unfiltered. And so creating some sort of idea to formalize it within a binary is itself a logical fallacy. It's rather a need to cope with something that might just be far beyond one's ability to grasp, which is simply, perhaps what it simply is too, because everything can be, yeah? If you actually use, your inquiry and not a base to a specific system, because as soon as you do, you're dogmatized. So it's not out of fear, it's out of actual, authentic interest to know what is real and actual. And you can only do that by listening to yourself, which is where every philosophy will diverge, and they will say you can't. Because every other philosophy creates the hashtag dollar on your blind obedience and acceptance into becoming a subjugate party for their adoption. Meaning that what I'm now speaking to you is very easily going to put me in jail eventually, if I were to actually put this into a book. And simply saying it aloud now is itself a danger. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if what I'm saying is true, then for a fact, the very construe of how you see the world is itself a deceit. Not because I wish to gaslight you, the world, but because whoever earns big money on you just standing on ground and putting weird marks at some entities in the sky you have no ability to know, they say, sort of are supposed to blindly accept and be obedient by such weird propagates. And we are the gaslit entities, or actually no entity, but beings upon the ground. You see, who can use the head and think for themselves. So simply, what is actually reality? It's the most difficult question to approach. Obviously, it is very fearful to approach by those who just blindly accept and adopt some kind of excuse to what it is. Because supposedly you can't know. Yeah? But you can. It's called using your senses. Those senses that they have written for centuries, you can't trust. You have been gaslit already to not trust your senses, don't you see? So maybe restoring trust in one's senses sounds quite sensical. It makes sense to use one's senses. It's really odd, but very logical. So we see that it's actually just simply logical to use your senses. Because why wouldn't you? If you're going to approach any kind of subject, no matter what, you need to use your senses. Obviously, else you're going to just live in some kind of fearful position of, oh, what this might be, or whatever. And obviously, that's no position to have, because that's not at all, first and foremost, at all manly. But it's just straight out intellectual dishonesty. And it's furthermore emotional blackmail upon oneself to dismiss. Because obviously you have senses. So why would you emotionally blackmail them into some sort of like realm where supposedly you can't trust them? And obviously now we see that this is some make-believe fantasy that we have been properly indoctrinated to be well-reasoned, to behave in parley, dine, line and dine, whatever, with, yeah, great. And take it from the pedagogue. I of any would know. But, you know, you would have to go and get your own experience.